rugby was like my North Star, gave me an outlet. I was just literally a terror on the rugby pitch. 23 years old, this is where I started getting injuries, when I should have been in my prime. All my power had gone. I had nothing, and mentally destroying moment. The good news here is that I'm still here. I survived all of this. It's because I didn't give up, also because I listened to my body and I searched for the right kind of mentors and the training that went deeper than just lifting weights, a complete life transformation. I know so many rugby players that are struggling. I'm going to go speak to as many blokes as I can. I'm going to share it in my own words because I'm living proof. Fast forward 2 years, I was...
Richie Norton, so interested in exploring how you went from ex-rugby player to human performance coach, best-selling author, Lift Your Vibe. We just go with yoga, breathwork, nutrition and meditation. But first of all, got to start by asking how your partner Tam is, because last time we chatted, she'd had an accident and looking at your social media, it looked pretty bloody serious. Was she in a neck brace? She was taken to another hospital.
Yeah, so straight in. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I feel like this is going to be quite an emotionally charged conversation. So preparing all the listeners right now.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So yeah, Tam, on April 12th, I remember it vividly. I was in London. She'd gone home a bit early. We'd just been in London together. She'd gone home back to Dorset to go and take care of the dogs and also go and see the horse. And just a little walk around the field turned into her kicking the horse accidentally with her heel, and it bucked a little bit. And she went to grab onto the neck of the horse just to sort of get her balance, which spooked her horse, quite a young horse. And just a small little mistake, and it flew and it kicked her into the air and she landed on her head. Luckily wearing a helmet, she landed into a bush but hit the edge of a curb. The helmet definitely saved her life, but the compression, because it was such a distance and the angle she hit her head, the shock went through her spine and compressed her vertebrae, so her T3 and T4 cracked. So she broke the vertebrae. Didn't quite go all the way through, but it's quite a deep crack. And I think we've all realised now, the doctors also kind of confirmed that she wasn't as strong as she was. Spinal cord could have been completely destroyed. Wow. Because to go that deep down the vertebrae, it is quite a big impact normally. Any weakness around that middle part of the back, if you don't have the musculature to support the vertebrae, that's what causes the snap and causes the pressure release where things can get a lot worse. So, I mean, she got up, stood up, a bit disorientated, rang me, said, I've got a bit of backache, walked home, had a bath.
No.
Thinking that she's just, jarred her back a little bit. I mean, testament to how tough she actually is.
Yeah.
And stubborn. But as you can imagine, it throws your world upside down, because the ambulance was called literally an hour later because she was feeling like really uncomfortable. It was getting worse. Right. Anyway, this is fast forwarding the story, but I obviously rushed home, and all the plans that we had, all the things that we wanted to do the next few months all came to a standstill, but the severity of the injury had become clear. So yeah, she was in a back brace and a neck brace and hospitalised for over a week, and the 12-week rehabilitation journey began. We're talking a few months ago now. She is apparently 6 weeks ahead of where she should be. She's healed that quick.
That's amazing. Okay.
So the good news of the story is that she's fit, she's strong, she's fighting it, she's rehabbing, she's healing. Her attitude is strong and positive. I really truly believe that's a big part of why she is still on this positive journey.
If you're enjoying this podcast, can I ask you to do one thing for me? That is to hit the subscribe button. On average, we have just 10% of people who listen to this podcast actually subscribe to it. If you subscribe to it, not only will you be the first person to be notified as soon as any brand new content goes live, it also means that we can go out and get even better guests for the show for you to enjoy. So just take 15 seconds of your time just to hit that subscribe button, and I'll be eternally grateful. Thank you very much.
And it is funny, like our circle now, you've just, Hayden, good friend of mine, who's been to a couple of your retreats. We mentioned Mark Whittle before, Jay Morton. Quite a few. Georgie, who used to work for me, it's crazy how small the world actually is, isn't it? But I remember, like, your background. I'd never done yoga before, but your background, something resonated in me. I'm an ex-rugby player. I finished playing when I was 30 after getting a knee injury, and something resonated. And I ended up doing about 300 of those online classes. And I remember, like, you had your own program, and then there was Fern Cotton and you had your own program as well. So came across you doing that. But how did that, like, collaboration come about? Because you're obviously doing what you were doing back then anyway.
It's crazy to think that's almost 10 years ago when our journey began.
Right.
So the fiit opportunity came around because I was really trying to make my way in London at the time, trying to teach more men about the benefits of yoga and movement and breath work before it was like a trendy thing that everybody did. I just felt like it was such a big part of my rehabilitation after I retired. And basically another chance at rugby, another chance at sport, because of all this practice in the form of movement and more like functional training that wasn't just about lifting weights, which is all I knew until that point.
Yeah.
And I was teaching all around London. I was a private PT, and I was teaching anybody I could, like, share this with. And I was teaching at a gym in London, and a girl who knew the boys had said, I've been asked to try and recruit some people because there's this new app coming out. And it's the first time, like, apps were a thing.
Yeah.
They were one of the first fitness apps in the game. So I was honestly honoured, because I still had a bit of imposter syndrome, that I was still able to go and teach, and my social media following was growing. And I thought, well, why not? So I went to go meet the guys, and they were talking about how they want this app to be available to everybody, and that I could be a great... I felt like a veteran at that point. I was like one of the oldest guys in social media, in the scene of all these influencers that were popping up around London. And I just felt very honoured to be able to go and share that message, to go and speak to people that were ex-athletes, that did want a second chance, that were struggling with their injuries. And they just gave this really open platform to create any practice I want, because it was completely new and nobody's really teaching it in the format that I was delivering it based on my own personal experiences.
Yeah.
So they gave me a shot. They took me into their office in East London, and I was demoed what I did, and they all... had a great experience, and then off we went.
Yeah.
So it's still at the app. I actually filmed some exercises just last week.
Really?
The remaining trainer.
I am.
But yeah.
Wow. I didn't know. Right. Okay. That's
I'm still there.
It's a great space. I went up there and interviewed them there because I wanted to, like, check the whole thing out.
Yeah.
It's an amazing space.
Yeah, they've got an incredible studio, great team, a lot of change. But I think the key thing is that it's still reaching people. There are still people out there that don't know that's available to them. There are still people out there struggling to find direction with healing themselves, and actually getting stronger. And now what we've just done, like, to give you an example, I've just done a whole series on yoga for athletes.
Okay.
So it's never been done before in that respect, where it's targeting people that are missing these interlinking exercises that allow people to perform at high performance levels dynamically, functionally, that helps with recovery, and also, like, longevity for people just wanting to feel good in their body.
And I think, and that's obviously part of your USP, is that I wanted to do, and obviously fiit took off during lockdown, massively, by being able to stream, classes live to you in your home when gyms were shut, etc. But for me, I think it was like friends were recommending, look at this yoga instructor, and she's got this big YouTube channel, look at her, no offense to all the female yoga teachers out there. But when I then looked at your practice, it wasn't like, this is the traditional form of yoga from A to Z and this is how we're going to do it. It was incorporating lots of different elements. And I guess as an rugby player as well, I like the functionality, the movement aspect, rather than just this is yoga as it's been taught for thousands of years. And obviously I'm just one of many, but obviously hit a nerve with a lot of other people. The fact, testament to you that you're still doing it for fiit and you build the following that you have.
Yeah, it's always really good to hear, actually. And it doesn't get old when you get an older guy. Like, I've just been working with a 68-year-old guy who you think like would just be getting on with his life. But somehow his doctor followed what I did a few years ago. And now I had a GP refer a 68-year-old man to go and do one of my classes.
That's brilliant.
And honestly, it was probably the best news about I've had in months.
Yeah.
When it comes to being an online coach now more than anything else. You still have people reaching out that later in life are finding benefit from doing a yoga practice, which is, I don't often call it yoga because I'm a bit of a renegade in that respect.
Yeah.
I'm not so much a traditional yoga teacher, but it's so nice to have people still embodying this practice that is so energizing and restorative and important at a time when I feel like we're still not winning that battle against ill health and broken bodies and mental health. And for me, it was an opportunity to share the message that a movement practice, a breathwork session, connecting with your body, like really connecting with your body, can help someone on such a deep level. And that was the message that was just sneaking in my sessions, by not making it too spiritually worded or too hard to follow. Because I think the simpler the better, the more it is for someone to connect with that practice and then really start to take it further. I feel like we really need to keep saying that message out there. So we don't take care of our physical body. It's something we hear all the time. How can our mental health be any good if we're not physically taking care of the inside,
No, I agree. And it was like when personal example, when I left Virgin Atlantic and then Virgin Starts, I've been working for the Virgin Group for 20 odd years, starting out as my own and as an entrepreneur. I kept getting, every year I would get ill. And it's only when you take that step back and have a look at it and literally go, if I'm not well, and I basically retrained as a PT and then specialised in sports injury because I realised that I was based down in Bournemouth, and it was like a huge percentage of people that were coming to see me were training for like marathons and triathlons and breaking down. And then the other massive percentage, we were by JP Morgan offices, like 7,000 staff. They're all coming to see me with all those classic, RSI injuries. So I came to that conclusion that if I couldn't look after myself, how the hell am I meant to look after all of these people that are coming to see me for treatment? But it was only by, I think, taking that step back and actually realising that, why do I keep getting ill all the time? Why do I keep breaking down? And you just keep pushing your body, and you just haven't got that, I don't know, that energy within you to actually overcome anything. That you kind of get those signs, but you ignore them and then battle on headlong. And at the time, mental health wasn't something that was talked about, but clearly that must have been having an impact with me as well.
Well, I think you just described what most people are suffering with now more than ever. To set the scene here and to make it relatable for anyone listening to this conversation, stress is becoming so familiar to everybody that we're just getting used to the feelings and the sensations and the signs. So many more people now are dealing with this chronic underlying stress signal that we're numbing, or we're pretending is not there, or we're ignoring it. And it's now turning up in other forms, not just with anxiety, sensations, feelings, emotions. Mental health as a whole become a very dark place to be when you don't allow these things to flow through you. And you think about how many people in high pressure situations, the expectation of what we need to go and do in the world, and prove ourselves and live up to the expectations that we have for each other or ourselves or of others. And also the pressure to build and achieve and to make money and to be successful.
It's relentless.
It's relentless, and it's a huge problem for people that haven't got a way to create an outlet for all of that stress that builds up from all of that pressure. And this can be physical, mental, emotional pressure. It can be underlying stress. But this chronic state is leaving is in this inflamed, toxic, intense energy in our body. Is such a sensitive organism system that it's feeding all these things. So how can you expect it to function? And I think to make this really relatable for everybody so they all grasp it, your mental health, if you want to fix your mind, if you want to strengthen your mind, a great way to do that is by physically training yourself and by treating your body as one incredible machine that needs to be given good food, that needs to be trained, that needs to be strong, that needs to build up this, what I think about as a force field and protecting you from all these negative vibes. But of all the toxins that you expose yourself to, all the heavy negative energy that's around you, all these distractions, it's stopping you from really connecting to that internal power and all the magic inside of you without being too fluffy with it. We're more like robots than we are human beings that have all these incredible gifts and this incredible body that's able to heal, that's able to be strong, but we're weakening it. So of course we're getting sick. And then when our body is sick, how can we expect our mind to be strong and to be clear and to be positive? So bringing this back, what more of a reason do you need to go and start training your body? Start working on yourself, And I think to really send this message home, if you haven't got it yet, if you start to take care of your body, everything else will become a little bit easier. You'll start to get the control back. But there's one thing you can do for anybody that's struggling, that anyone's got something going on right now that you need to get through. Whatever you're suffering with, the stronger and healthier your body is, the more power, strength, connection you have to be able to go and do whatever you want in the world. So you want to build a big business, you want to make lots of money, you want to have a healthy relationship, you want to live longer, you want to be able to be around for your kids. What's your incentive? What's driving you? Whatever it is, if you're not healthy, if you're not prioritizing your health, all of those things are eventually not going to matter. So I just think, that message still needs to be shared, because so many people are sick and unhealthy, and it's affecting so much of their life that could be saved, prevented.
People kick things down the road, don't they, Richie, as well? And I heard Chris Evans on Virgin Radio chatting the other day, and he was like, his wife's gone from being a runner to running a marathon to just running 100 miles. Most people mind that's a marathon is an impossibility, and then running that is an impossibility. But he was like, things you want to be doing when you're 50, when you're 60, when you're 70, when you're 80, if you're not doing them now, how do you imagine that you're going to be able to do them when you're that age? And I was like, wow, that's such a simple way to frame it, but it's absolutely true. If you think, oh yeah, I'll get round to that one day. So anything, isn't it, whether it's starting the business, starting the podcast, but your health, I just thought that was really powerful. If you just keep kicking it down the road, you're going to be that person who's shuffling along the road or whatever. You're not mentally, physically strong. You're not in control.
No. And again, being understanding of, because I've been in that place, I've been in that low place. I am someone who has overcome and come out some very dark corners. Probably a few times, everything since I retired from rugby and losing my way and not having any real direction and feeling like I've got no purpose, I've got no like connection with myself. And because I'd let my health all fall away, I'd put on loads of weight. I got really toxic inside. I got necrotic appendicitis because my body was so toxic from drinking and the drugs and just not caring for my body at all. Completely lost my way. Absolute rock bottom. My body shut me down. My body told me that's enough, like a warning sign. And it's unfortunate that so many people wait until they get that wake up, and some people don't get the chance to come back.
No, true.
But I think from all of these lessons, because I'm someone who's lucky, who's fortunate enough to have listened and taken action, I can speak for a point of like how powerful it is when you do decide to take action. And you do it for yourself, and you save yourself. Because there's power in that. And there's also in the vulnerability of actually someone going, do you know what, I actually am struggling. What can I do? What are my options? Working on yourself is the best thing you can ever invest in for a start.
Yeah.
So that's a great place to start. And this is for anybody at any age, whatever your industry is, whatever your profession is, whatever you're into, whatever your hobbies are, you're a human being. I think when you start to invest in all of those things that you know are good for you, life just starts to blossom. Opportunities open up, doors open. You connect with more people on your frequency.
Yeah.
I really, truly believe that because I've seen it, not only in my own life, but others.
And tell us a little bit about that then. What injury did you get that like finished the career? And for you at that stage, when you were a rugby player, what was the vision? What were the goals? What were you looking to achieve? Or were you, just on this path?
Right, taking myself back there. So I was very fortunate. I'll try and keep this short, but I also hope it inspires other people who are in my position. I'm speaking to the kids out there now that I've got a dream. And I'm also speaking to people of my age in their mid-40s who are like maybe in a bit of a midlife crisis or it's on the way. And they're trying to reinvent themselves, right? So as a kid, I was lucky to have the gift of being very athletic. My upbringing was, I'm very grateful for my parents to show me sport, the outdoors, nature, connection, love. So blessed. But when I moved back to the UK, because I used to live in the Middle East when I was a kid, and I didn't really connect. So I came to school, the school system in the UK, quite late. And rugby was like my North Star. It gave me an outlet. It allowed me to let out all my frustration. It was my outlet. I was just literally a terror on the rugby pitch. And what helped, obviously, I've been this big since I was 11. So back in those days, it was like, get the ball to me and let me mow everybody down. So it was quite a nice place to be. But what happened was, because I was like one of the biggest kids in school, but also I had all this attention because of the rugby. When I was quite young in my teens, I got opportunities to play in county and England A, and it was like, but promising career is ahead of me. And I was competing in athletics. I was like, I'm off. But what I also had was an ego that came with that. At 19, I got my first semi-professional role in the UK. And when that season ended, I'd been offered trials to go to Sale. And also, there's a couple of the clubs, but Sale was always a dream of mine because I lived near Manchester.
Yeah.
And I thought, great, what an opportunity, this is my shot. And at the same time, I was also thinking I need a backup plan. So I started to train as a firefighter. I thought that's a good career. I want to be a hero. I'm going to be a hero. Worst case scenario, I've got a good backup plan. Anyway, so it just set this long story, but I'm thinking, people have dreams when they're younger, and they think it's all going to be there for them. Yeah. It's all going to roll out. It's all going to come together. Everything's fine. I don't have to worry about anything else. I don't need anything else going well for me. This is it. I'd been arrested just before the end of that season. Again, just playing up, trying to show off. It wasn't really me, but I was playing this role to try and fit in with the wrong crowd. which again, I'm hoping probably relates with a lot of people losing their way. So my parents, like, I think this trip to New Zealand that's just been presented to you, which is luckily because of my rugby, I've been offered an opportunity to go out there in the off season. A summer in New Zealand is a really good opportunity to go and get summer training, and you'll be a hot property when you come back to the UK.
Yeah.
You'll get that sale contract. It will all make sense. Just go and just get the job done. I was kind of like pushed out the UK to go and live as far away as possible in New Zealand because I was getting myself in so much bother. Anyway, fast forward 2 years, I was still in New Zealand. I didn't come back.
Right.
It was the life-changing move that got me back on track. One, because all the Kiwis just schooled me over there, because I thought I was a rugby player until I went out there and absolutely hammered.
Different gravy.
Different gravy. Anyway, at 19 years old, what a gift to be able to go and travel, but also meet all these great people who live and die by their team and honour and respect and discipline. And I'd never been taught any of that, really. And it was literally something that probably saved my life and saved my career at the time. And this has turned into quite a long story, I understand now, but I'm hoping just to provide a bit more context because it wasn't a smooth run. I had to come back. My granddad wasn't very well, and I came back. Family stuff was going on, as stuff happens like that in life. Had to end that dream. I came back about 2.5 years later, and I couldn't adjust to the UK. It was like I didn't realise how much it was a trigger for me to be around that environment. Just think about how many places you get stuck in. Your friend circle, your peer group.
Yeah.
You can't break free.
And you were early 20s, huh?
Early 20s,
Yeah.
at a crucial time, and it was so raw in me that I realised something needs to change here. I've got an opportunity. I'm good at rugby. Doors are opening for me. I got offered an opportunity to go play in New York, play in America. Who's ever done that? In my eyes, nobody. It was so new back then.
Yeah.
They were all American football players trying to play rugby.
Yeah.
But it was mostly teams of Kiwis and Aussies and expats. So I went out there for a year, and this is where I started to get my injuries. 23 years old, when I should have been in my prime, I hyperextended my knee. I got nerve damage in my spine. I got my first big concussion, and I needed like a lot of rehabilitation. And it niggled for ages. So I at the end of my season, I'd be running down the pitch, and my back, my nerves would get so inflamed that my whole leg would just give way. I'd just collapse on the floor.
Wow.
So I was a winger at the time.
Yeah.
Was stroke, inside centre, outside centre, utility back.
Yeah.
So all my power had gone. I had nothing. And it was just like the most debilitating, I think is the only way to say it, and mentally destroying moment, because it happened for months after that. So I was put off for 12 months, and I was on track to, my head, TV pundit on Sky. In my head, it was like, can't wait to win the World Cup.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was that kid that had all those big dreams.
Yeah.
And also had told everybody about it. Oh yeah, don't you worry about me. Watch me go.
Right.
Fall from grace was a big one.
So it was the ego.
The massive ego that I had, because I was literally living for rugby. I was literally as the glue to my existence. All of a sudden, I had nothing else, because I'd given up on the firefighting for so long. That was going to be my fallback plan. But when you're injured, you can't become a firefighter anymore.
Of course not.
Didn't think about that part.
No.
So my backup plan couldn't happen either. So anyway, long story short, the fall from grace was a real hard fall, and I really lost my way. So my way of dealing with it was to go and blow the cobwebs off and start to have some fun. And that fun took me to Ibiza, where all hedonism comes together. I'm not quite sure how that all came about, but a series of events. And I really just got lost in the moment.
And did that fill the gap That was rugby, basically, that party lifestyle.
The party scene became me.
You were the party.
I was the party. I took that seriously. I wanted to be the party everywhere I went. But a few years later, I realised I was really just hiding away from facing up to what I needed to come and take care of. So that was a few years of losing my way. Anyway, I think the good news here is that I'm still here. I survived all of this. This is 20 years ago now. Scary when I say that. But I'm still here because of me hitting a lot of roadblocks and finding some key people in my life that I now hopefully carry the torch with to show people that you can turn your life around. You can come back from injury. Because I played rugby again 10 years later.
Did you?
Yeah, okay, I didn't know that.
The happy ending is I've been written off. I've been told to retire. Too many injuries. Couldn't come back. I'm still here now, still probably fitter and stronger than I'd ever been 20 years on because of the practices I keep now. I think so. We can end this chapter of the podcast. It's because I didn't give up, also because I listened to my body and I searched for the right kind of mentors and the training that went deeper than just lifting weights.
Yeah.
And that happened when I went to Australia, which again, fast forward 7 years from that initial injury. I took myself out of London before it completely killed me. And I moved to Australia. I found surfing, I found yoga, I found capoeira, I found an amazing community, and it was literally like a complete life transformation.
Right. And that's what I was going to ask. Like a lot of the listenership of the audience of this podcast is male, and a lot of like teenage, early 20s guys, and like I know you just met my youngest daughter out there. Like a lot of her friends are in Bath rugby academies. They literally do like the nearly 2 hour 3 times a week to Bath and back to train, and then obviously now we're fully professional. And that's where I ended. I never made the first team, but that's one of my kind of story ended myself was at Bath. But it's difficult to kind of put your brain back into that age. But at that time, like you said, you think you're going to play for the first team at Bath, you're going to play for England, you're going to win a World Cup, but there needs to be a backup plan that's also flexible, I guess, as well, and at the same time to maybe not just train specifically for rugby, of course, which is it's so interesting to know. What did you find first then from all those practices that you've now incorporated? You mentioned your book, Lift Your Vibe. Which of those practices did you discover first, and how did one lead into the other and lead into the other and lead into the other, and then you've kind of pulled them together? And
well, again, just setting the scene, so I really hope these messages sink into anybody that listens to this. I was 31 years old when most people are definitely retired from professional sport in rugby. If you've had the injuries that I had, you kind of like call it a day unless you really want to punish yourself. But it's also a lot of people give up because they just accept that their body's feeling all of these pains because they're getting older, right? How many people do you know, like, oh, I'm old now.
Can't do that.
Can't do that here. Yeah. Stop doing that now. Oh, past those days.
Yeah.
Or, oh, well, it's all part of life, isn't it? Or they just get used to suffering in this pain. They take more pills, take more painkillers. I mean, my dad, my grandparents, stubborn people from Yorkshire who like, all that stuff, just getting old. I was not having it. And that's part of it, not giving up and choosing not to surrender to all the pains and aches and actually just accepting it has to be that way. It's a big part on people starting to rehabilitate. And we're talking now into like 40s, 50s, 60s, which is most of my client base right now that I work with. Because I've also proven that you don't have to put up with most of the things that people complain about with their aches and pains.
Yeah.
So I got to Australia at 31, had all these injuries plaguing me. I couldn't really run very well. I was carrying this extra weight. But I was recovering from this appendicitis thing where they scraped out all my insides because of, I don't know if you know what that is, but it's where you kind of have gangrene, around all your organs, and it's like sacs of black,
Really?
green, like toxic stuff in your.
That's horrendous.
It's not good. I didn't know anything about it at the time. But again, just me being stubborn and a good pain threshold, they thought I had just some stomach acid. So they gave me antacid tablets. It wasn't until I started to go green and blue and yellow and all these different colours and started to feel really sick. And most people can think about how toxic people are inside from all the alcohol and all the drugs and all the bad lifestyle, and they wonder why they're getting all these illnesses.
Yeah,
when they're suffering so much.
In inverted commas.
Yeah. And most of us can literally keeping ourselves sick and tired until you actually go and do the deeper work. Please don't wait until you're as sick as I was, because some people don't come out the other side. So they rush me to hospital. Again, I'm pivoting a little bit now to give more backdrops. People do feel like it's done. They're done. You're not done. You can decide today to do something about it, and you're going to give yourself a much stronger chance. So please think about that. Anyone who's listening to this, it's not over. I know so many rugby players that are struggling, just like me. I'm going to go speak to as many blokes as I can. I'm going to share it in my own words. No fluffy, spiritually woo-woo-y chat from me, but we're going to tell it as it is, because I'm living proof. I'm still doing that now. I guess that's why it emotionally fuels me so much, is because I realise when I don't think that we're winning this battle sometimes. I'm fortunate to be around lots of good men. That's why I run men's retreats now, because to connect with men, blokes, and just be men and talk openly. What the key messaging there I'd like to share is that it is a form of an illness. You could say it's a disease. You could just say it's like the inability to be able to share and communicate what's really going on. So without that way of letting things out, you suppress them, you hide them, they become a much bigger problem than you think they are. And also your thoughts, the darkness that can come, these holes that you can find yourself in, this low mood that you can find yourself in. It's not like you've got ill or you've got a problem. It could be your lifestyle. It could be your diet. It could be your circle of friends. It could be your work. It could be the toxic relationship. There's so many different factors. If I look at all the things that I have conversations about with my clients, it's like, what's the underlying thing that you've not addressed? What have you not processed? What's still becoming something bigger inside of you? What needs to come through? I want to say we are winning the battle, but the statistics say different. It's worse than ever. Why is that? More suffering, more pressure, more expectation, being hard on ourselves. Social media, you could blame all of this stuff that we're looking into, and all this comparison and all the things that we're pressuring ourselves.
Yeah, the comparison. I love that.
And it's, I'm not saying that's the only reason, but the sooner we're able to make this a normal thing, so when you are feeling down, you are feeling a bit depressed, you are feeling a bit unhappy, you find a way to work through it. It's not you. It's a moment of darkness. The darkness has got a hold of you for a moment. That energy is just starting to weigh a bit heavier on you. Okay, rather than let it be you and accept it and sit in it, find a way to work through it. So this is the whole idea of having a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
Speaking up, reaching out, knowing that it's okay. So if you create a safe space, let's say all of your friend circle now get it. They all understand that it's good for you all to have a little chat to make sure everything's okay. You won't be judged. It's all right to have a bit of a down moment. You can reach out. It's all right to be in these states of mind. Get off the medication. Let's go for a swim. Let's go training. Let's go for a walk. So simple. It seems so easily accessible.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it, when you frame it like that? Yeah.
But we're still not doing it enough because we're too busy.
I love that. I think connection's huge, isn't it? And I always think back to, I again heard something on the radio now that it was something like, I don't know what it was, 40% of 5 to 7 year olds now have a smartphone, and it's those moments that me and my wife would always say, we'd go out with our kids when we're younger, and we'd always make a point of, no devices, and the adults here learn what it's like to hold a conversation or just listen. And then you'd look around and you'd see other families where literally the entire family is just looking at a device. And I get it if, for a moment to distracted kid who might be upset or whatever it is, look at this screen, watch this program or whatever. But I think if you're literally brought up from a really young age to not learn how to connect, how do we expect people to be able to be open, to be vulnerable, to have a conversation and to feel that they're not being judged, etc., if we're literally bringing people up like that into the world?
Yeah. It's a real problem with your generation right now.
It's got to be.
I mean, speaking to any parents out there, you are your children's biggest hope on being healthy and well and being successful by leading by example.
Yeah.
I always like to think about, you're a father. It's like, if they look up to you, you need to lead by example. If you're not practicing what you're giving them, you got no chance of learning everything up to you and like living that way. And if you want to save them, and if you want to give them the best possible chance, how I would imagine carrying myself, it's how I carry myself with clients, with my sister, my brother, my nieces, my nephews. Because I want to lead by example. Can't tell them what to do. I can't do the work for them, but I can definitely lead the way. I can lead the charge and show them a healthy, balanced way to live a good life. And hopefully they become good human beings from that experience or that inspiration that I hope to be in their lives. Because that's also a sense of purpose. It gives you direction. So even if you're not a parent yet and you're just trying to find your way, look for mentors. Look for people that you look up to that's living the life that you want. What are they doing? You'll often find that they're healthy. They prioritize their well-being.
Yeah.
They're doing something about performing at their best. How do you do that? You've got to take care of your body. So it all starts with your health. All of it. All of it starts with you taking charge of your health for you to inspire all those people around you. Your friend circle. If you want to help a friend, lead by example. Don't tell them what to do. Don't make them out to be something that, they should be. Just do your best and do what you can that's within your power. That can be purpose.
I appreciate you coming today because I know you said you could have not come today.
Well, we did try this a couple of times, didn't we, to come in, and I thought, I feel like this message needs to be shared. It's quite... it's really raw because I've been thinking about this a lot for the last few days. It's really fresh in my head. I'm so fired up right now. I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm sad, all of these emotions because I feel like, well, one, it's very close to home that we need to try harder and we need to take action. And we need to look out for each other a little bit more and just get out of our own head and look around to see where we can maybe be of service to others a little bit more. Look up, reach out, really take this life seriously. Realize how precious it is. Do not take it for granted. And because it is fragile and it can be taken away. And a lot of people wait till it's too late. And I think that's just such a shame. I wasn't really going to talk about it, but I think it's important to message. So I lost a friend last week. He took his own life. And I wasn't quite sure if we were going to bring this up and then maybe don't want to delve too deep into this because it's quite a big thing to unpack. But those that follow me on social media, those that know me quite well, is that I've lost more friends than anyone should ever lose in their lifetime. And never mind by the time you're 40 years old. And I've got a very big circle of friends around the world, but to lose so many friends, that you feel you could have helped, that you could have saved, that you could have had an impact on, but everything that I've just shared, it's part of the reason why we've got a lot of work to do. So a little bit about this guy. Again, the statistics, big heart, life and soul of the party, tried to do everything for everybody else, tried to save everybody else, tried to help everybody else. But he was suffering for quite a long time, PTSD, and he had some concussions, and he was just trying to do his thing. We worked together in the States. He was one of my first ever ex-PT coaches that I trained in the States, and it changed his life. It gave him a lifeline. For years, he's taken that home. He lives in Costa Rica, and he'd share the breathwork, he'd share the cold water, he'd share the movement. It was his thing. Well, he was open that he was very open in saying that he was still dealing with this illness and that he was carrying with him. And maybe other people can relate, and maybe that's why I'm wanting to share this, is like he was suffering and he was telling people about it. He was doing the work, but it didn't save him. He had accepted that there were moments, I think this is maybe the best message I can share to hopefully even save a life, or to give someone more insight and to understand this depression, this darkness that could come over people in their lives. In case you ever find yourself here, or you know someone that talks this way or is in this place, is he talked about it as a darkness that took over, that wasn't him. So it's not you. It doesn't have to be your identity. It doesn't have to be something that you actually have to accept and suffer with. If you make it out, that if you take a moment to accept that, it's the darkness in me right now. It's this thing, this illness that is speaking, that is thinking this way, that is feeling these things to want to even go to that point. Unfortunately, he decided that, well, he just didn't have, I guess, the strength to get through that anymore. I was talking to his partner last night, which is why I feel a bit better about talking about this, because she helped me make a bit more peace with it all, because this is how she's finding strength in the whole thing. That if you see these situations and these times in your life when you feel down, to prevent these things from happening, that you just need to maybe take a moment to sit with it, and talk about it, and to know that it's not you. And don't make decisions based on you thinking and feeling and talking to yourself in that way for you to even think that you want to take it that far. I just hope people start to look at it as an illness and start to look at it as something that can be worked through, can be shared. You don't worry about judgment. You don't worry about people not understanding. There's a way through.
Yeah, there's always a way through. It's got to be.
And this is why it's a big part of sharing these tools and these practices, having these conversations, making it a real thing. That, he was a surfer, he found connection in nature, he found connection with his dogs, he had such a great community of people, he was the best friend to everybody. And the darkness, the heaviness in him just took over. Because maybe, he just, he has his reasons, I guess. No, I guess I'll never really know, but he left us a message, and he wanted us to all live for him and to be a shining light, and to charge at life, and to try and do what we can while we're here, to do the best we can. And he felt like he'd left his mark, felt like he'd done what he could.
I love that. I'm sorry for your loss. I know when I was there with a mutual friend of ours not that long ago, Jay Morton, we were talking about, suicide being the biggest killer, the silent killer in men. I had an episode recently with this guy as well, Craig Harrison, which really difficult conversation, and he was like ex-forces, and he was saying to me that he still has like suicidal thoughts, and I'm like, how often do you have them? He's like, I'm having them now. I literally have them all the time, and I'm like, wow, that must be so tough to live with. But you'd like to think that there's always somebody that we could reach out to and talk to and share that darkness with.
We have a project that's going to be coming out soon that's going to bring all of this stuff together, that is going to be for everybody, that is going to have a core focus around community, that is going to be able to be rolled out anywhere for anyone, and open up doors, open up conversation, and also train people to be the best version of themselves in what we hope is a very fun way. It's the evolving of what I've always wanted to bring to life since working with Laird Hamilton and Gabby Reese and all those amazing mentors that I've had on my journey. That this is my gift back. This is my way of saying thank you. This is my legacy that I know is going to have a huge impact on so many lives. This is going to be carried forward. It's not going to stay with me. This is now going to be shared, and these messages and these conversations and these tools are going to go out to the whole world. And that's what's got me fired up now. Because I know this is going to have an impact and have a ripple effect of good, kind, positive messaging. And it's something that is going to connect with any human in the planet.
Well, that's now we can help share that message off the back of the podcast. A couple of questions to finish, quick fire rounds. What was the one thing you needed to screw it, just do it and get from where you were to where you are now, Richie?
Belief in myself, for a start, and also deciding that it's on me. And I could accept that I was suffering with all these things. I could accept that I'd been dealt all these cards. I could dwell on all the things that were happening to me. I can blame others. When I decided to take ownership of my own life and not start looking for anyone to save me or help me, I found empowerment to actually, screw it, let's do it. That was the change. It's like, it's on me. So I would accept that I'm going to give up. That's not an option, because there's more to life. I've just been dwelling and suffering in silence. No. Not this time. I'm not having it. And through that, I started to then associate myself and then connect with others that were on a similar page. I looked up to people. I looked for inspiration. So if you can't find that in yourself, you can't just go, right, it's on me. There's so many great, positive people out there that are doing great things. I look for inspiration everywhere, and I want to try to be friends with them. I want to connect with them. And that's what I guess I owe a lot of my success to, is because people did take me in. And now I'm an extension of that kindness. I'm giving back now.
Yeah.
So they can all screw it and let's do it and take ownership.
Are you currently where you want to be?
I'm exactly where I need to be.
Great answer.
And because I'm not accepting this is where I want to be, because I know I'm nowhere near done. And I don't think I'll ever be done. So I just know I'm exactly where I need to be. And I'm accepting of everything that's happened to me. And I won't change any of it, because it doesn't define who I am. I'm creating that person now.
And what was the one action you needed to take? Was that the going to Australia?
I needed to take action. I needed to change the environment. I needed to change who I was, how I was behaving, my attitude. I needed to change my friend circle. So maybe you have to be as drastic as going to the other side of the world. But I needed something, one, that created a change in lifestyle. And obviously beaches and sunshine and good vibes. And that was pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
So you do need to take action. If you feel like something needs to change, you need to change. And that quote, nothing changes unless something changes, or something along those lines. nothing changes and nothing changes.
Yeah.
So I had to change. I had to make a big change. Otherwise, my path was not taking me anywhere positive.
Advice to help people get from where they currently are to where they want to be. What advice would you give somebody who's stuck, who's procrastinating, who knows they need to make a change, but for whatever reason they haven't taken action?
My first thought with that is, and if I was having my coaching hat on, and I'm dealing with someone who's got lots of obstacles, lots of challenges, feels really stuck, maybe rock bottom. A good way to look at that is like, well, the only way is up. And the first step needs to be towards something that is maybe quite a big obstacle that is in your way, that you know is going to give you some positive feedback, or it's going to give you some strength, or it's going to give you some direction, or it's going to take a bit of the pressure off. And then think about what's the first step, that's the easiest step, that's the most manageable based on where you are. So if you sit with that for a moment, a great place to start is starting to move your body, starting to actually create a shift in your energy. If you just sit there and fester in all your worries and your problems and you think you're stuck, well, guess what? You're going to stay stuck. To get unstuck, you've got to move. And the way to move from that physical place, that mental place, that emotional place, is to start to move your body. And to build the strength to be able to deal with all those obstacles, start training yourself. Build that resilience by having discipline with your training structure, your workouts. And that could be a walk, it can be going to a gym session. It can maybe be starting just doing some breath work to create a shift. And then in terms of like professional shifts, changes, doing something different with your career or your relationship, whatever it is, whatever feels that you need to get out of, you need to find something that you hopefully enjoy doing. What have you neglected? What brings you joy? Do more of that. Do a little bit of that today. What have you neglected? What have you taken for granted? To bring a little bit of that back for you. Do something for you. And you also need to have a little side hustle or a hobby or something that maybe couldn't become a career or something to get excited about again. Bring that spark back. Even just something on the side. Find a bit of time for it. So yeah, you kind of reconnect with that joy feeling again.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think that's often maybe casting your mind back to what used to light you up when you were a kid or a teenager or a young adult, whatever, rediscovering that. Like you said, it brings the positive energy back. Easiest way to get hold of you, Instagram at Richie Norton, book Lift Your Vibe. Anything I've missed out already? Last messages that you wanna share that we can get out of that?
I always love to communicate and share and help anybody that has the confidence to reach out, that feels like they need some support, need some guidance. I'm fortunate now to have built a really great team that can support pretty much anybody that comes our way. To get hold of me, Instagram is probably the most active social media platform to get hold of me on. Like Richie Norton, the website, Adapt, Explore retreats if you fancy something more in person. I think just reach out. You know, what are you looking for? How can I help? I can usually set you the right direction. If I can't help you, if my team can't help you, I know someone who will definitely help you in some way, at least get you up and running.
Yeah.
So I just always encourage, just find a way. You can just type in Richie Norton. There is another Richie Norton out there, actually.
Is that?
There is. We've not met yet. One day maybe we will. And he's on a similar journey, but we look different. So hopefully I understand who's who. Although I think he tries to look like me. But yeah, I welcome anybody reaching out, and hopefully I can be a positive influence in some way.
I'm sure. And send Tam all our best as well. And her.
She's sharing from around the world right now. That's part of the reason she's healed so quick. She's feeling so much love and support.
Amazing.
So it does make a difference.
Amazing. Well, I'm glad we got around to doing this. Really glad you came in. Really excited to share this and the messages that you've put out today to our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I'm honoured.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please become part of the growing Scrooge's Do It community by clicking the follow or subscribe button. I've set a goal to get 50% of those who listen or watch the show to follow or subscribe. The starting point is a little over 10% of you, so we've got some work to do. As always, I hope that each episode of this podcast is helping you get from where you currently are to where you want to be.